Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have time, and neither do you. So here is the entirety of the American Revolution. Ready, set, go. So, leading up to the Revolution, we got shit like the French and Indian War, which was really a world war called the 7 Years' War, but we're America, so we call it the French and Indian War, right? What happened is basically the French and the English were having a pissing contest, and eventually this led to a war in which the colonists had to fight off with a bunch of British soldiers that they kind of hated, because the British think, a bunch of untrained savages, and colonists are like, what a couple of idiots standing up getting shot at all the time. And so, basically what happened at the end of the war, there was the French got their asses kicked, and they got booted out of North America. And English control this huge section, and all the colonists be like, holy fuck, that's so cool, we can get land, and like, oh my god, this is amazing, we control Canada, but like, well, that doesn't really matter, but oh man, so much land to the west, we can get it. But at the same time, there's this guy named there's this random Neolin guy who's an Indian in Delaware, who inspired this guy named Pontiac to get together a bunch of Indians and say, hey, fuck the colonists, bitch, we're gonna kill them all. But eventually, they got killed, so sucks. But what happened was, they rose up and started attacking a bunch of British forts, and the British were like, don't want to deal with this. And so they negotiated a peace treaty, which included the Proclamation Line of 1763. It pissed off the colonists. This is another thing that pissed them off, besides everything else. Like, what the fuck? We just conquered the French and Indians' asses, and now we can't go west? And people are already west, and they're like, bitch, I just built a house here. You ain't kicking me out of my house, bitch. And so, this is already pissing off people. You got people like the Paxton boys and the Augusta boys going around killing Indians. It's a rough time. And London is broke as shit from the war. And they're like, we're gonna make the colonists pay more taxes. That's the best plan. And the colonists are like, how about fucking no? But they did anyway. So, if you'll remember from this glorious revolution a while back, there's this guy named John Locke that introduced the natural rights of man. Now the colonists are looking at that and being like, so, I see you've got a philosophy from you that can support our rights to not get taxed by your ass. I mean, it is here. It's right there. And so, they're starting to think of a little bit of rebellion, a little bit of republicanism, a little bit of fuck the king, fuck parliament, I want to do my own thing, And so, and also, religion's doing a kind of weird thing, because the Great Awakening revitalized religion, but also kind of split everybody up, and everybody's like arguing about religion, because everybody cares about it again. Just like, that's happening. Don't worry. And so now we gotta talk about Boston, because Boston had a lot of shit going on. First off, we got impressment with British sailors going like, you bitch over there, and American sailors like, what the fuck do you want? And the British sailors like, you British now, and you on this ship. But American sailors like, bitch, I got a better job, I got a better working condition, and the British Navy is like, don't give a fuck. So they tried doing this again, and then Boston went like, go fuck yourself. And they took some of the Commodore's officers hostage, chased the royal governor out of town. It was pretty cool. But, in response to these escalated tensions and taxes, the British are like, you gonna get taxed, bitch. And so they passed the Sugar Currency Act, and the Stamp Act, and the Townshend Act, and the Tea Act, and like, I don't know, you should know about this already, but Sugar Act, that's fucking obvious. Currency Act, colonies can't issue currency anymore, which is like annoying. Crap, where's the list? Right, Stamp Act, everybody gotta put stamps on all their papers, and all the rich people be annoyed as shit. Townshend Act. There's a shit ton more taxes on a shit ton more random shit, and everybody's pissed even more. And the Tea Act, which is an indirect tax, making their tea cheaper. And Colin's like, no, bitch. I'm not gonna buy your fucking cheap ass tea so you can get a monopoly, and then you're gonna raise the price on our ass. Go fuck yourself, alright? So, people are getting pissed the fuck off. You got Sons of Liberty. You got Daughters of Liberty. You got... Well, no, this wasn't a very liberal time period. So you don't got gender fluid descendants of liberty. I don't know. But you do have Sons and Daughters of Liberty. And they're getting together and being like, we're gonna enforce boycotts on your ass. And we ain't gonna buy your bit of shit. Now, some people still loyal to Britain. You know, it's like a third. Neutral, loyalist, rebellion. But... Sons and Daughters of Liberty going to the neutralists being like, you ain't buying British things, are you? And the neutralists like, nope. So, you know, eventually more people will go over to the rebellion side. But, you know, you're still loyalists. You gotta remember this shit, right? And so, And so eventually, Parliament also passed the Declaratory Act, being like, alright, I'm gonna repeal the Stamp Act, but we can still tax your ass. And the colonists are like, that's right, repeal it. And no, you can't, bitch. And eventually, there's that thing called the Boston Massacre, when a bunch of sailors went after soldiers for stealing the jobs and being like, fuck you, bitch, you stole my job. Throwing an oyster shell. Then eventually you got 400 people throwing oyster shells, and then you got the soldiers going like, well, fuck it then. And so something happens and shots go off, and then John Adams defends them and be like, they got rights too and we're gonna defend it. Okay, we're gonna defend that. You know, it's very nice. It's very kind of him. Yeah. Also, in the backcountry, as in the West, people annoyed as shit, cause like, what the fuck? I kind of want to settle here, and the king's like, oh no, we got the proclamation line, and so the frontiers people probably didn't give a shit. They also formed these people called the regulators that basically were kind of like a people's militia kind of thing. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Also, at the same time that they passed, what was it? Oh yeah, same time they passed the Intolerable Acts, one of them is the Quebec Act, which places everything west of the Ohio River into the hands of Quebec, and recognizes the Catholic Church, which pisses off America, because America is mostly Protestant, so fuck the Catholic Church. And America happens to like settling west of Ohio, and so it's like, why the fuck are Canadians controlling this shit? And Britain's like, fuck you, that's why. Ha! And so, people getting pissed off. So you got a bunch of delegates getting together from 12 and 13 colonies to make the first Continental Congress. And this Congress says, alright, we in a bad relationship with our baby England, alright? I don't wanna break this off, but we gotta fucking do something. And so they're like, okay, we're gonna do some boycotts, ban some imports, make sure they know we exist, we got our constitutions and shit. They better, and in 6 months, they better get their fucking act together. We're breaking up. That's it. And also, you know, with all this talk of freedom going around, some people like, hey, so what about slaves? And the Americans probably went like, Moving on. Now we're talking about the war for independence. Yes, this is a very fast chapter. Okay, so Lexington and Concord, west of Boston, which was the seaport town that got all sorts of taxes and stuff. Oh yeah, I don't know how I skipped over the Intolerable Acts. I think I mentioned it with the Quebec Act, but with that, also they closed Boston, forced the military government on them, some sort of taxes, and you know, more shit to piss off the colonists. But we also got, now we're gonna get into the actual war. That's the interesting shit. So first off, we're starting off with the battles of Lexington and Concord. You know, with Paul Revere who gets arrested like a punk ass bitch, and then you got William Dawes actually doing the work out there. But he don't got a poem, does he? Actually, he does. You should look it up. It's pretty good. But basically, they went to Lexington, kicked the colonists' asses. They went away because, you know, the British, they're trying to find the weapons that the colonists have. And so then they move on to Concord. They don't find jack shit. Colonists, nowhere to be seen. They don't got weapons. They don't got nothing. And while they're walking back, colonists come out of woodworks going like, surprise, surprise, motherfucker. And they get out their guns and shoot their ass. A lot of casualties. Very annoying to British. Right? And so now people are like, hell yeah, bitch. We just kicked their ass. And then moving on after that, there's the Battle of Bunker Hill, where basically the colonists laid siege to Boston. And though they lost the Battle of Bunker Hill, it was due with severe British casualties. And the British left Boston. It's like, get fucked. And also, African Americans basically went to both sides because they felt like it. Because the British went like, we're going to free you, you join us. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to join the British. And the Americans are like, later on, they're like, we'll free you too, I guess? And they're like, yeah, alright. So, you know, both sides had a thing. Oh, and then the Second Continental Congress came together and like, bitch, fucking England. Baby, what are you doing? What the fuck? We had 100-something year relationship and now it's falling apart. God, alright. So, you five, Jefferson, Adams, 3 others, make a declaration. Washington, you in charge of the militia. Nothing changes, we're declaring independence from this bitch. Alright? Also, what's turning opinions is this guy named Thomas Paine's Common Sense pamphlet. Being like, he's like, yo, England, he's bad for you. You gotta let it go. Just let it go. Break away. Alright? It's common fucking sense. I don't know why I censored myself there. But, you know, eventually, you know, they declare independence and like, yeah, let's go. And they also make the Articles of Confederation so that they could, you know, have a government. And then eventually Washington took his patchwork army. Basically what he did is like, he doesn't want decisive victories. He wants not decisive losses. So he's basically like shooting and running so we can tire out the Brits. So they can't do shit. Right? Okay. And eventually, you know, you got shit like they had to abandon Manhattan, and then they captured, you know, the Hessians at Trenton. They trained at Valley Forge. It's pretty cool. Saratoga, they kicked the British guys' ass. And then in the South, they kicked their ass at some point under the lead of a guy named Nathaniel Greene, something like that. And then France and Spain get in there and be like, alright, we'll support you. I hate this fool. Time to get fucked. The Iroquois, though, they joined the British side because they like, hold up. If the British go away, they ain't gonna protect us. So they, you know, started shooting up Americans. And the French and the Spanish alliance was very, very useful in kicking the British's ass. And don't forget, this entire time they're still loyalists. So like, you know, they're vilified by everybody else. And it's just, you know, they're there. They eventually moved to Canada or somewhere else. Women would help the army by like making food and doing harvests and stuff. It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, and I was talking about the South battles. This guy named Nathaniel Greene kicks this guy named Tarleton's ass, and basically, And basically controls the South Carolinian countryside, even though the British still controlled Charleston. And finally, when this guy named Cornwallis falls back to Yorktown, a combined effort of the Americans and a French naval blockade sieges his ass until he surrenders. And at this point, Parliament and the British are like, Fuck this shit. You don't want me, I don't want you. Get the fuck out of my life. Until they make another Treaty of Paris. Oh boy. And the United States are now a thing. Boom. What's up? Next time, we're going to talk about nation building. And, probably something else. Good night.